Okay, everyone, welcome to Pioneer Community Energy. What is Pioneer Community Energy? We're at the top of well, not quite the top of the hour. It's 11:30 in the morning, and we're going to start our webinar right now. A couple of housekeeping things. We do open this to questions and have a question answer session. So please look for, and hopefully your screen will show, the Q&A component. You see that right here. It says Q&A. Type in your questions there and we will answer them as we move along. We have places located within this presentation that we go through and look at your questions and answer them, and feel free to keep popping them in there as they come up. So do note that this presentation is being recorded, and we're doing that because we then post it on our website, not only for the benefit of the public who aren't able to attend, but for those who do attend and want to review different sections. So this will be available to you within a couple of days of us finishing up. So with that in mind, let's kick this off and start with, what is Pioneer Community Energy? So Pioneer Community Energy, here we go. Who we are. Pioneer is a not-for-profit organization. It's actually a joint powers authority, which means a partnership of local governments that came together for the purpose of buying power or electricity on behalf of their constituents. You can see we are currently made up of Placer and El Dorado counties, Auburn, Colfax, Lincoln, Loomis, Placerville, and Rockland, and welcome to our folks in Grass Valley and Nevada City who will be joining us in 2024. We serve currently about 159,000 customers, and that's literally the number of meters or accounts that are there. And we provide a stable rate and electricity and a choice in energy options. So we're going to go a little bit more into what that means. Kind of a picture of where we're at. So if it's kind of hard to visualize, the dark blue areas are Pioneer's areas in unincorporated Placer and El Dorado County, and then the golds, Nevada City, Grass Valley, Colfax, Auburn, all of those are the cities that are participating. If you'll notice, Roseville Electric, which is in red, and SMUD, which is kind of an orange, and Truckee Donner up in the upper right, it's up over here in this section here, are not listed. They are publicly owned utility districts, municipally owned utility districts, and they are not an area that Pioneer can work on. We can only serve people in investor-owned utility areas, and so that would be what is here, PG&E territory. Now to the right, you'll see Liberty Utilities. Liberty Utilities is an investor-owned utility, but they're out of Nevada, and at this time, we are not serving that area, and that's Tahoe area. It's up above the summit. So next, let's talk about providing energy, where Pioneer gets its energy, and how we work with PG&E. How electricity works in California, there are actually two sides of it. There is the lines and poles. That's the delivery. You'll see that on the left side. It says distribution. Those lines, poles, substations, meters, all of that infrastructure is owned by PG&E. There is no other way to deliver power in our service area than through PG&E's lines and poles. Now that's one side of their business, and that's a side that everyone pays for. We all pay for the grid. And when someone says, they're worried about the grid, this is the part they're mentioning. On the other side of electricity is the electricity itself. It's the actual power. It's called generation. PG&E and Pioneer both provide electricity. It's just a matter of which one you choose. And that's why Pioneer was created, to provide a choice in options for who your electricity provider is, programs that might be available, and to incite competition in the marketplace. So with that, Pioneer is competing with PG&E. Now, one of the myths or misunderstandings that are out there is that Pioneer buys its power from PG&E. We actually don't. The energy market in California is quite diverse, and just like PG&E, we go to that market and we hunt for contracts with providers to provide reliable power, good cost power and to meet renewable requirements. So you'll see here we have a whole selection of things. There is solar with battery, there's geothermal, there's hydroelectric, there's wind, there's biomass, there's so much out there. California's market has a diverse number of providers, and that's where we go. Pioneer focuses on best cost, best fit for our communities. So what is Pioneer's power mix like? And this is, what do we buy the most of? Where are our contracts out? Well, every year, Pioneer and PG&E have to provide a power source disclosure form to the California Energy Commission. That's where these numbers come from. That power source tells the California Energy Commission what the makeup of our power is. So you can see by this chart, you have PG&E's power, and that's what they have. And then you see Pioneer, and we have two columns. We have two columns because we have the standard, which is what everyone gets when they join Pioneer. That's the default product. It's 44.1% renewable. And then we have the Green 100, which is 100% renewable. Now, these are certified. These are approved by the California Energy Commission. So these are straightforward numbers. Green 100 was created for those individuals who wanted to address climate change, to take action. It was actually a response to a request from community members and from businesses that needed to reach sustainability goals. Green 100 allows businesses who must do climate action activities, either from the corporate requirements or as part of their own corporate philosophy. And Green 100 provides them one more option for being able to meet that sustainability goal that they have. Now, about energy. Oh, I've got a question here from the energy section. How do I know I'm getting clean energy when it comes through my lines and poles? Well, clean energy, when we put power on the grid, it is distributed in mass. So we can't guarantee that absolutely every electron coming to you is 100% green energy. But what we're doing by buying power on behalf of individuals who make that choice to be 100% renewable, we increase California's power mix overall. As you saw, Pioneer's power mix is 44% renewable. That's above what is required right now. The state of California has a push to meet different goals at different periods of time of 50, 75, 100% renewable or sustainable energy. And those are the things where every time we make a choice to buy renewable energy, we increase what the pool of energy is in terms of how much is actually renewable. So hopefully that answers that question. So, nope, okay. We got some other questions that are actually going to be addressed by our next sections. So enrolling with Pioneer, the hows, the whats, and the whys. Okay, first let's take a look at it. Why is enrollment automatic? Now, this is one of the things for a lot of folks who go, I don't understand, if I get a choice, how come you automatically put me in this? Well, when community choice aggregation, that's the literal name of the program as it was created by the legislature, was put into place. They wanted to ensure two things. One, we can't buy power in one household at a time. So having people join a community choice aggregator, one business or one household at a time, does not give us the load we need to be able to go into the market and buy power. And to kind of see what that looks like, think of making a batch of cookies. If you need a cup of flour, you're out. You need just one cup of flour. You go to the grocery store, they're not going to sell you necessarily one cup of flour. They're going to require that you buy a 5-pound bag. It's the same kind of thing. We can't buy one household level of power. We need to buy it in megawatts and gigawatts. And in that case, that allows us to bulk. So that's why everyone's enrolled. The second reason was for energy equity and inclusion. By requiring that everyone gets enrolled and ensuring that a community that chooses to have a community choice aggregation or a program like Pioneer, that everyone has equal access to it. So everyone is enrolled, and then those who don't want to participate can say no thank you and opt out. Opting out is something that you can do at any time. We will let you know that opting out is a choice once your account's been activated. When we're in the process of enrolling in a community, like right now, we're preparing for Grass Valley and Nevada City, accounts in that area won't be activated for us until November timeframe. And at that point, folks can begin exercising their choice. But until then, we don't have access to the accounts and can't note your choice. So that's what part of how that works. So here it is. We're moving into how does enrollment work? Well, in new areas, this would be like for those folks who are in Grass Valley and Nevada City, accounts activate 60 days before enrollment starts. So we are prepared to start Nevada City, Grass Valley, January 2024. So that means starting in November of 2023, each account on its meter read date becomes activated for us to begin receiving people's choices. If you're interested in staying with Pioneer, you don't have to do anything. Enrollment happens. But if you want to exercise your choice, that's when you can start calling. So when will you know if you've been activated? We send notices. It's 60 days before enrollment and 30 days before enrollment. Those come to you in standard mail, and you can see it when you've got it. It has the terms, conditions, and that tells you your account's been activated. So at that point, you can exercise your choice. Once enrollment's occurred, that'll be in January of 2024 for Nevada City and Grass Valley, we send 2 more notices out, 30 days after enrollment and 60 days after enrollment, to alert you to the fact that you've been enrolled. You continue to have the right to exercise your choice. Now, here's the one caveat of this. When you receive an enrollment notice that's post-enrollment, you've been enrolled and it's post, there's a 60-day grace period. And in that 60-day grace period, you can opt out. No strings, no issues, no problems. You go right back to the investor-owned utility. However, if you opt out after 60 days, remember, you can opt out at any time. After 60 days, you can still opt out, but PG&E will require that you stay with them for 1 year and that you choose between 1 of 2 options for returning to their service. That's the only caveat to it. Now, in established areas, this would be Placer County, El Dorado County, and all those cities that are participating, we're the default provider now. So anybody moving into the area, changing addresses and starting a new account becomes eligible for Pioneer, and they're enrolled. We're the default provider. Just like new accounts, the new areas, there are post-enrollment notices. They get it 30 and 60 days, and it says, hey, you're part of Pioneer, and you have the same option to exercise your choice. If you like Pioneer, it just rolls on in. If you have questions, you give us a call, but that's how you can choose whether or not to participate. So next, let me see if there's any questions on enrollment. Oh, can I opt out? Of course, you can always opt out at any time once your account has been activated. So those folks who don't have solar will be activated in the Nevada City and Grass Valley areas. In November, solar customers may be activated around their true-up. Watch for the notices, give us a call and say, hey, is my account active? I'd like to exercise my choice. Of course, if your choice is to stay with Pioneer, you won't have to do anything and the enrollment will occur. Again, how long do I have to opt out? You can opt out at any time. The only caveat on that is if during the initial phase when we enroll a community, or if you're a new move-in customer, post-enrollment 60 days, you can opt out with no problems. You retain your right to return at any time. There's no choices to be made. You just go right back to PG&E. After the 60-day grace period, there are some caveats that PG&E has. 1, you'll have to stay with them for a year, and 2, they have 2 options that they ask about for which one you would like to do to exercise your right to return. And at that point, we explain them to you and you can choose what you would like to do. So moving on to rate plans and options. What rate plans Pioneer offers and what you need to know about them. Well, first, Pioneer mirrors PG&E's rate plans. So all of the rate plans that PG&E has, we mirror them. We have them ourselves. And the reason we do that is so you're not having to compare rate plans and figure out how one works or the other works. And since PG&E is the provider of the lines and poles, and that's how we distribute the power and get it there, aligning our rate plans with theirs makes sense. It means it's very easy for customers to know exactly how things are going to work. Now, within that, we're going to talk about residential rate plans because there are two types of rate plans for residents. There's a tiered rate plan. It's the same cost all day, every day, 24/7. But there's a baseline. And once you've exceeded your baseline, then there's an additional cost applied to your delivery charges. That's the tier. When you have Pioneer, you will see on your generation charges, it's the same price all day, every day. There's no baseline, there's no changes. It's the same cost. And that's because generation is the flat part. Tiers are applied on the delivery, but that's what an E1 flat rate is. Now, there are also what are called time of use rates. You see the TOU stands for time of rate. These rate plans have different periods of the day when power is more expensive. So TOUC, peak hours are 4 to 9 p.m. means between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m., it's going to cost more for power. There are also seasonal rates. There is a timeline in terms of when things are winter and summer. Time of use D, it has peak hours of 5 to 8 p.m. So between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m., Monday through Friday, it has higher rates. There are seasonal rates and more. You see E-elect, it has a partial and a peak and an off-peak and a seasonal, an EVA2, which stands for electric vehicle, peak, part peak, off-peak, seasonal. That's a lot of information to handle. So when looking at these rate plans, part of what Pioneer offers is if you're thinking about a rate plan and you're not really sure, and these are all kind of confusing, we're here to provide support. We offer these same rate plans and we can explain them. Matching your rate plan to the way you live your life is the best way to make sure you are using electricity as efficiently and as at a cost-effective way as possible. So, how do you match your rate plan to your usage to save money? Well, you take a look at who you are and how you live your life and where you live. So with a tiered rate, we said you have to watch your usage to save money, and it's affected by climate load, climate zone baselines. So what does that mean? It means that based on the climate zone, and you can see that over here on the right, there's a map. And right now we have the Placer County and El Dorado counties mapped out. Nevada and Nevada City and Grass Valley are right over here. These zones, based on temperature, seasons, highs, lows, have a base amount. And for discussion purpose, we'll say, one of them is 450 kilowatt hours is what is allowed. So that would be your baseline. If you exceed 450 kilowatt hours of usage, you go to tier 2, higher usage. Now remember, the cost doesn't change on generation. That stays the same. The cost increases on your delivery charges. So that's how a tiered rate works. Now, time of use rates. Choose based on your needs. Time of use, because it has 4 to 9, 5 to 8 in those peak periods, you must watch the clock. It's not as much about how much you use as when you use it. So that 4 to 9 period, if you are really busy in that 4 to 9 period and you need to have a whole bunch of your equipment running, time of use may not be the best for you. But if you're someone who can shift the load, do dishes in the morning or do them after 9 o'clock, if you can set the washing machine to run during the night or in the early morning, if you set your pool pump so it runs in the off-peak hours from after 9 p.m. and before 4 p.m., you can do that kind of control, then time of use may work really well for you. So how do I know what my rate plan is? Well, that's one of the things a lot of folks run into. They're like, I don't even know. What do I know if I'm on? Well, you can go to pge.com/myenergy, and that's where you log into your account and you can look it up. You can also find it on your bill, and that's where we have it. Notice here, this is a uh, tier one E1 account. That means that you can see here, they've got usage that is the flat rate, E1, right here, rate plan. And as you can see, this person, they had usage allowances, 351 during this time period. They've used 351, and then they had an additional 35 they used. So that gave them tier two. For solar customers, you have the same thing. You have the rate schedule right there. This one happens to be ETOUB. It's a residential rate plan. And they also have under enrolled programs, net energy. For those of you who have programs like solar, NEM, net energy metering, or medical baseline, CareFera, you will see messages here under enrolled programs. Watch those messages for timeframes. That's where PG&E notifies you that your CareFera or medical baseline may be coming up on a renewal, and you need to provide some more paperwork to them to keep that program going. This is where you find your rate plan. Okay. Now, how do you know for certain if what's the best for you? I mean, we can talk about it and you can think maybe this would work, but PG&E's developed a wonderful tool under pgne.com/rate analysis. You log in, go to your account, and it says to the right, manage my rate plan. When you select manage my rate plan, it provides an individualized analysis. This is analysis of your usage, your account for an entire year, and it goes based on that analysis, which of these rate plans would you use? And it lists them by cost on an annual basis. So you can look at each rate plan. You could see what it could potentially cost you for the year if you made no changes in behavior. And then you can choose which one works for you. And you can choose right there. Now, I have folks say, well, if I'm with Pioneer and I make a choice, what happens? PG&E lets us know that you've made a choice and advise us of that. And you have the same rate plan with us that you have with them. Very easy. One stop, one shop, one click. So with that, do we have any questions? Oh, I have one. If I choose green 100, am I stuck with it or can I go back? Okay, we're going to look at green 100. Here we go. So we mentioned that Pioneer offers green 100. It's the only 100% renewable product in the area, and it's created for customers who want to reduce footprints. They want to do more about climate change. They have sustainability policies that they need to achieve. So Green 100 offers this. It is a choice. You can opt up to Green 100. You can opt down at any time. This is totally something you have control of through Pioneer. So here's the Pioneer Standard. And then there's the Green 100 and the PG&E. This is how they look when you look at them for charges. Pioneer Standard is 44% renewable, and your average bill for a year on Pioneer might be about $198. That's on a standard 650 kilowatt hours a month average E1 account. What about Green 100? Well, if you chose Green 100 for about that's what, $8 more, you'd be $205 annually, and you have a 100% renewable product. Again, you can go back and forth between the two. If you want one, you try it, you don't want it, or you do, or you only want to do it during seasons, you have this choice. Your other choice, of course, as always, is you can opt out and return to PG&E. And here you see that PG&E's got 38.3% renewable, and their cost would be about $218 for the same number of kilowatt hours, which this one was based on at about 650 kilowatt hour basis. Okay, so hopefully that answered the question on whether or not you get stuck on Green 100. No, you don't. It's a total volunteer kind of thing, and you're welcome to come and go with it as you need. So, all right, what we've got next. Let's talk solar, because Pioneer with solar has been a challenge. A lot of folks don't believe Pioneer and solar work together, and we actually do. There are some differences. but it does work. So let's go over what that is. More than 39,000 people currently have Pioneer and have solar. Now, for those who don't have solar, uh, one of the provisions in having solar is that if you generate more than you use over a 12-month period, you get what's called net surplus compensation. And this past year, in 2023, Pioneer paid out $1.1 million to more than 5,600 individuals who had net surplus compensation. So how does this work with Pioneer when it comes to NEM? Well, we're just going to start with NEM 1 and NEM 2. For solar folks, that means Net Energy Metering 1 and Net Energy Metering 2 programs. These two programs have retail credits for generation. So what that means is you get the credit for the generation at the retail rate for the time period it's generated. If you're generating power between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m., then whatever our retail rate for that power is what you're compensated at. And that gets placed as a credit on your bill. Once you have done the 12 months, if you have more usage or more generation than you have usage, so you're a net surplus generator, we take those extra kilowatt hours and we multiply them by our net surplus compensation rate. We index to PG&E and add a half cent more, and that becomes your compensation. We offer regular webinars on solar, getting the most out of your system, understanding bills and data and how, what indications there are problems. One of the key components about Pioneer and solar is that we want to make sure our customers are getting the most out of their solar, learning how to really operate their solar system to its maximum efficiency. And one of the ways that we do that is helping folks understand what's on their bill and what the data means and how the data is an indication of how well your system is working and what you are getting credit for. We also perform solar bill analyses for savings, and we look at solar and battery support. That's because for those who get solar with battery, the bill can be challenging. And I do see a note up here about what about the new NEM, the net billing tariff? We're going to get to that in just a second. So that's how we work with this. So billing for solar. This is one of the key places of difference between Pioneer and PG&E. If you generate more than you use, it's credited to the retail rate, which is what we talked about. If you use more than you generate, you pay for that electricity. So generate more than you use, credit. Use more than you generate, you pay. What is different? PG&E tracks credits and debits and keeps a ledger-like summary on page 3 of the bill. So basically, PG&E and Pioneer do the same calculation. Generation is credited and usage is debited. Difference is that Pioneer reconciles monthly. PG&E creates that ledger on page 3, and that is your analysis of, 1 month you have a credit, 1 month you have a debit, you have credit, debit. And at the end of 12 months, then they collapse that all, reconcile it, and that's what you pay for. Pioneer doesn't go for a whole year. We actually reconcile each month. If you have credits, those are placed on the bill and they roll forward month to month, being accessible to cover future charges. You pay for electricity as you go. If you have a month where you have more usage than generation, if you have credits, we'll use those credits to cover it. If you get to a month where you do not have the credits and your generation didn't cover what you used, then that would be a month which you would pay. But outside of that, there is no large end of the year bill. Pioneer doesn't do that. We do reset our calculation for surplus in March, April. So that's when we do our cash out. Everybody's looked at. And if you were net generator, we reset, we take a look, give you credit for those extra kilowatt hours. If you are a net consumer, meaning though you had solar, but during the year you actually used more than you generated, we just reset you to zero. We reset everything to zero and we start the calculations again. And that's how we build towards that. We set our our process up with March, April, because that's the month that most people, there are some exceptions, always are, right? That most people generate more than they use, or at least start generating really good extra kilowatt hours. And by having it start then, those kilowatt hours with that retail credit can roll forward month to month to month and build a nice kitty of credit that an individual can use in the winter, the fall, when they need it, or if they need to use a little extra during the summer, during these really hot days. So that's how that works. Please note, we like to make sure we cover this. Solar customers pay for distribution. While generation is billed monthly, PG&E still bills for the lines and poles annually. Okay, so while you have Pioneer and we've taken care of the generation on a monthly basis, you will see PG&E's running charges for lines and poles. As we said, it's something separate, it's different. That's one side of the um, electricity market. That's one part of your bill, and the other part's generation. So this is still there. Some folks get a little confused going, well, if I have Pioneer, why do I still pay PG&E? Because you have to pay to get the power to the house. That's the shipping charge. So watch that bill true up summary for the amount owed on page 3. It's very critical. Everyone should watch their page 3. If you are a customer with batteries, there's a different bill you need to look at, and we can always talk to you about that. We encourage you to call us. It's called a detail of bill, and we can walk you through that so you know where to follow that information as well. Okay, so back to that question we had about, well, what about the new NEM 3? NEM 3, or Net Billing Tariff. That's the new NEM, and that started April 15th of 2023. It starts when your application was submitted. So if you're one of those individuals who was able to submit an application for solar before April 14th at 11:59 p.m., that's exactly what they had, 11:59 p.m. If you got an application in for solar by that point and it was accepted, then you're going to be, for the most part, NEM 2, unless there's some anomaly. Those who after April 15th submitted an application to do solar, you are now part of the net billing tariff. How will this net billing tariff roll out? Because it's not actually functioning just yet. You're identified as having it, but it's actually not on the bill. Well, net billing tariff will actually begin around December of 2023. That is at this time. And I'm going to put this disclosure out there. As far as we know, and until December comes here, we are operating under the assumption that net billing begins December 2023. So how does it roll out? Well, customers who had their legacy period expire, so those of you who've had solar for more than 20 years and your system was built in 2001, 2, 3, you will be placed on net billing. Customers who are again, who applied for their solar system and it became a solar system after April 15th, you'll be on net billing. What will happen is for this first year, you're on the current, what's available billing system of NEM 2, but starting in 2024, on your true up date, PG&E will roll you over to the net billing. And so that's how that will work. If you have questions about that, please give us a call, but that's how it will work, is we'll start seeing that billing at this point in time. To the best of our knowledge, that starts with the true ups in 2024. Now, what do we know about net billing? And again, at this time, and we keep saying this because the decision is there, but it's got to roll out and they have to implement it. And so there's some questions and some procedures and processes that are still working through the system. So at this time, there are no new fees. We know that. Net billing doesn't have any new fees associated. We also know it's not retroactive. So if you've got NEM 1 or you've got NEM 2, not a problem. You aren't going to be subject to any changes there. Now, net billing does allow for overgeneration of the system, like oversizing it by up to 50%. However, to do that oversizing, you must attest to increased usage that will correlate to that increased size. So basically, what they're saying, and this is these, must attest to that underlying language there. That's their language. Basically, it's this: if you oversize your system because you say you're going to have more load, you're going to use more electricity because you're going to get an electric vehicle or a heat pump or whatever it is that you're going to do, they expect you to do that within 12 months. That's what that means. Now, the legacy period, here's some really special things. The legacy period is linked to the customer, not the system. So for those of you who have NEM 2 or NEM 1 systems, that legacy period is 20 years and it's attached to the system. So if you own a home that has a solar system with NEM 2 and the NEM 2 expires in 2034, if you sell that home, the person who buys that home can continue with that NEM 2 until 2034. It stays with the system. So if you installed your system in 2014, it was NEM 2, and it's in 2024, you sell the home and someone buys it, they get the additional 10 years. You've got a 20-year legacy, they get those 10 years. With net billing, it doesn't work that way. The net billing tariff, whatever is the current NEM program is what is there. It does not, there's no 20-year legacy of holding on to that. It is linked to the customer. The system, someone new comes in and buys your house, you've got net billing, they're on the next system. And that's how that works. It also doesn't have the retail rate. Remember on the NEM 1 and 2, we were talking earlier about how there's retail credits and you put that as a, depending on how much you generated, we put that credit on the bill. Well, net billing doesn't have that retail credit. They use compensation at the avoided cost calculation. What that means is they're going to set each year this charge that they say, folks who have solar on net billing, you are helping us avoid this cost, whatever that cost is to a system, and there's a whole formula that will go in. And that is what your compensation will be for overgeneration. At this point, our understanding is it is much less than the retail rate, which is why a lot of folks are not happy about the net billing, but that's the structure that they have. The other thing that it has is for those who use the net billing within the first 5 years, you can get some additional credits that are locked in. There's a higher credit for low-income customers, and these decrease over the years. It's a little bit of a complicated formula. So if you're someone who's subject to this, give us a holler and we'll kind of go over all of that. One of the other really big changes for PG&E customers who are used to NEM 1 and 2, where it's an annual billing, net charges are paid each month, kind of like Pioneer does. This would be on the whole bill. So if you have more usage than generation, you would pay Pioneer for its electricity, and you'd also pay PG&E for whatever their transmission distribution charges are. They wouldn't be accrued till the end of the year. And that is the same with PG&E. If you had PG&E for both your electricity and your transmission distribution, you would still pay every month. That is the new structure there. In addition, net surplus compensation, that part is still calculated annually. It still can happen. You can still generate more than you use over a year. It's just the retail credit portion during the year from month to month is going to be less. Okay, so with that, any more questions on solar? So I don't see, solar installers. Yeah, your solar installers have ways they like to prefer to recommend things. It is your choice. You can choose to have Pioneer or not. It is entirely up to you. There is no requirement that you be with PG&E in order to have solar. It just doesn't happen. Power purchase agreements, there's no requirement that you have to be with PG&E. Now, some sales folks will say this, but in terms of the overall solar industry in California, there's nothing that the Public Utilities Commission or PG&E or anything says that requires that you have to be with your investor-owned utility or with PG&E to have solar. You can be with Pioneer. It's completely okay to do. So with that, we're going to move into billing, what it looks like and how to verify your savings. This is the fun part because we have some folks who go, I don't see savings, and we understand. The bill is confusing. It's not easy to decipher where things are at. So we're going to show you so you can see. How do you find the savings? Because it's really there. Well, this is kind of a little handout we have. And so we're just going to show basically you take line number 1, which is the generation credit, and you subtract line number 4, which is the total what's in the red box. Pretty easy, right? Well, it looks easy. But you got to find out where that material is. Where is that information? Where do you find the numbers? On your PG&E bill. So here's where you start on the side, the one side, because we're using a NEM bill because it works the same for NEM and regular customers. It's the same information. The yellow line is the generation credit. You see that circle in green? This person had $43 in credits from 5/16 to 5/31, and they had $43 again from 6/1 to 6/13. That's the generation credit. Then the little red box includes power charge and difference adjustment and the franchise fee surcharge. Now, what are those two charges? Some folks say, "Oh, that's an extra charge from Pioneer." You know, that's extra. It's actually not. The power charge and difference adjustment is a charge that PG&E has on hand for all customers, including their own, that covers legacy contract costs, which means when PG&E puts in a long-term contract, say they put in a contract in 2010 and it ends in 2030, if you leave PG&E and join Pioneer in say 2020, well, there's still 10 years on that contract that PG&E put in place to have power available for you. That's the fair share legacy cost. And what we do is the power charge and difference adjustment allows us to cover, it's set each year, goes through the Public Utilities Commission. It covers the difference between what PG&E could get for that power if they sell it in the market at the market rate and what they're paying for it under that contract. You might say, well, but if they're PG&E customers, aren't they using it? PG&E customers, sometimes PG&E doesn't need all that power, so they're still selling power back. But if they sell power that they bought and customers, they don't have the use for it, or they aren't able to move it around at a retail rate that is the same as the market, then they make up that difference. So if they can't sell it and they can't get their cost for it, so if they bought it at $30 a megawatt and they sell it at $10 a megawatt, there's a $20 difference. That's how we make it up. And that way, everyone pays their fair share for that. So those are those two red boxes. Now, those are two of the boxes that you put into there. But see that one on the right? Details of Pioneer Community Energy generation charges. There you see the customer paid $72. Okay, so that's what they paid us for electricity. Generation credit on the left is what you would have paid PG&E. Box on Pioneer's page is what you pay Pioneer instead. So that's how that works. It is literally PG&E right now, they've been working on their billing system, but its system doesn't allow line iteming. So what they do is they charge for everything and then they subtract what they shouldn't charged for. And so the generation credit is they should not have charged you for electricity. So they subtract it and then you have Pioneer's charge instead. So we see all these numbers here. What happens when we plug them into that little page? Well, if you remember, we had the $243. So we put that in there and that's $87. Then here we have that power charge and difference. We have the franchise fee, which I neglected to explain. The franchise fee is actually a fee paid to the cities and counties that allows you, it's a charge that they use for the purpose of right-of-way. So PG&E's lines and poles are a lot of times along the street. That's a right-of-way, and this fee pays and compensates cities and counties for use of that right-of-way. So power charge and difference, franchise fee. Here's what they totaled up to. Then you get Pioneer's charge. Remember that said that page 4 where it had Pioneer's charges of 72? When you put all of those together, they end up at $74.40. So when you take a look and you take Pioneer's charges with those other things involved, it's $74, and you subtract it from the $87.35, there's your $12.95. So take step 4 from the credit. So subtract 4 from number 1 and you get your savings. And that's how it works. That's how you can prove it to yourself that Pioneer does save. Now, what if you're just kind of wanting a quick look at, well, what could I save if I went with Pioneer? You're either enrolling or you're wondering, what it might look like. Go ahead and use our online calculator. We developed this to make it easy for folks to kind of see for themselves. You enter in your kilowatt hours and it goes through and generates for you. Now, this does go through, there are two right now, one for Placer County and one for El Dorado County. It does do an E1. So if you're a time of use C or something, it's not going to necessarily reflect that, but this gives you a good idea about what the savings would be. So for this customer who uses 650 kilowatt hours a month at 15% savings, they're going to pay about this much generation costs versus Pioneer. So PG&E would be 101, Pioneer's 86, and that difference in savings is about $182 a year. So it lets you see, and you can always hit start over and do it again and change the numbers. So what's next? Pioneer's not just about rates and rate plans and rate savings. I mean, that's a primary focus. Our board is very committed to that, but we're also committed to providing value in our community. And so one of the things that we do is we support programs and bring programs along. So when you enroll with Pioneer, the programs you're already on remain. If you are a CARE or FARA customer, that means California Alternative Rates for Energy or Family Electric Rate Assistance, both of those continue. Medical baseline continues. That's because these are statewide programs. They're available to all customers. And when they're available to all customers, just because you're with Pioneer means you still get them. So you don't have to worry about those. Oh, by the way, I forgot, for you NEM customers, if you are NEM 2 and you're come to Pioneer, you stay with NEM 2. Pioneer does not affect what NEM program you're on. The other thing that we have here is Power Savers. That's a new statewide program. It's based on income. It's actually not based on income. It is one of the programs where anyone and everyone can sign up for it. It is an all carrots, no stick program that during the summer, if we have flex alerts and they call for a power saver, if you can save power between 4 and 9, you get money back. Doesn't matter what your rate plan is, doesn't matter your income, doesn't matter where you're located at. It is a program that's out there for all. Electric load reduction is a similar program like Power Savers, but it's for the commercial and businesses. So with that, when you have these programs and you couple them with Pioneer, you keep the savings from those programs and you get our savings on top of it, making for a very healthy balance. Gets you a deeper discount. So one of the other things we offer is live webinars, just like this one. But we offer a bunch of different ones. How to get the most out of your solar. We offer ways to save. We offering other ones, reading your bill. As folks tell us that they want trainings, they want information, they want to learn, we offer live webinars. You can find them by going to the Pioneer website and you see where it says communities, events near you. And there'll be a list of what's coming up, either in person or via web. And we do have in-person visits. Okay, so before we get to that one of the new things that Pioneer has started, just so everyone knows, is that we have in-person field efforts that we've got going on. We are locating ourselves in the Auburn Senior Center right now. So the third Friday of every month, we are there in person to talk with folks. We are currently working with some of our other communities to see if there are other locations where we can set up in a little corner. And if you have questions and you want to bring your bills, or you just want to ask something, or you want to change rates and you need to talk to someone about it, we will be there in person. Sometimes that being able to be in person and have that question go back and forth and to see what's going on with your account makes it so much easier. And that's what we're there to do. So we have those kinds of things. We also have a new budget item that just came up. We've got $2 million that has been allocated by our board to provide programs, and those are in development. We have a community advisory committee that's been working with us to develop programs that serve our people. These are not in lieu of, these do not replace PG&E programs. These are additional programs that are custom tailored to the needs of our communities. Our power, our choice, our programs. And so that's how we're doing this is everyone comes together and looks at what they really want to have. And that's what we're going to be offering. So those are some of the new things. This is what Pioneer is. Um, Here is how you get a hold of us. We have several different ways. You can contact us by email at customer service, pioneercommunityenergy.org, or you can hit info@pioneercommunityenergy.org. We have our website, pioneercommunityenergy.org. Got a theme here, guys. We have a Facebook page, Pioneer Community Energy, and that phone number there, the 916-758-8969, gets you into the office in Rockland. We are actually headquartered in Rockland in Placer County, which is about the midway point between all of the areas we service. We are there in person and we're happy to help. So you can always come visit us there. You can give us a call at the office. There are a couple of us who answer the phones regularly and are happy to help. And again, we answer our emails and texts. We're happy to hold meetings. If you have groups that need some support, you just let us know. You want to talk more about what Pioneer is, go into a deeper dive, you give us a call. We're happy to do that. So with that, are there any other final questions? See, oh, I'm seeing one wanting to know how long will it take for us to get the webinar up? It usually takes a couple of days. We have to we go through and put it through a process where it's edited and it gets some captioning going on, and then it'll be posted and available. You can always go through and find on our events page where there are webinars offering. See, do you do in, oh, okay, do you do in-person meetings with small groups? Absolutely. Absolutely. If you have a book club, a homeowners association, you have a service group, a Rotary club, you name it, chamber, we are happy to provide support there. We've actually been working with the local real estate associations for the realtors to provide support for them when selling homes that have solar on them, because with all of those changes you saw to solar, it's confusing. And new construction requires solar. But when somebody buys that new home, they don't get a manual on how to operate their solar system. So we are there to provide that support and happy to do so. So any other questions? I'm not seeing any at this moment. So thank you everyone for attending. We really appreciate it. We are now at 12:22. It was set for an hour. We are 8 minutes ahead, and I hope you have a lovely day, great weekend. Take care and have a good one. Thanks.